Well, good morning or good afternoon or good evening if you're not in North America, but in the UK or Europe or the Middle East. Welcome to Larry Wilson Live. My guest today is Pierre-Jean Paumard, and I met Pierre as somebody who Abdullah Marcouzi from Abu Dhabi National Oil Company recommended I have on the Middle East expert panel. And today we're going to be talking about, turning around a culture of blame, dealing with the blame culture. So Pierre-Jean, thank you very much for joining me on the show, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Larry, for having me on this show tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh no,
it's a very good.
Well,
yeah, please. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. It's just thank. I mean, everybody. When we were just rehearsing for the Middle East panel, and the session was on old workers and young workers, and effective strategies for dealing with the two high risk categories. Just in the rehearsal before the show, Pierre-Jean and I got talking. He started telling me a bit about how he sort of came from France and got into work in the Middle East. And he was telling me about one of his first jobs and, what he kind of inherited. And it got me thinking about some of the places I'd worked. And so that's sort of the basis of this show, is sort of how do you transform that culture of blame into something that is fair and positive, or what Pierre-Jean actually developed, the Fair Culture program, which is what we're going to be talking about here. So let me little bio here. Pierre-Jean has been in health and safety for 12 years. He has a master's degree in health and safety, worked in various locations, and he's achieved some tremendous milestones, but I don't want to get into all of that, how many million person hours and so on. Let's just sort of start a bit with the basics, if we could, Pierre-Jean. Tell us just a bit about this, that I don't obviously know names here, but the first place you were telling me about where you got there. And I think I remember saying, well, what was their safety record like? And you said, Larry, they didn't have any safety records. And I was like, okay, you got me down. Okay, I've never been anywhere where they didn't have any safety records. So Pierre-Jean, take it from the beginning, if you will, and sort of give us the picture as you were coming in from sort of 40,000 feet to when you got to ground level. And I'll just kind of ask you questions and try to fill in some of the details, but have at it.
Yeah. First of all, again, thank you for having me on the show. You and Mike. I think those shows are really great. It gives the opportunity to HSE professionals to share their experiences, what works, what did not work, and I really believe that if 10 years ago I would have access to this platform, would probably have saved couple of years of my time. So here we are. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. So yeah, what you refer is I would say my last big assignment, which was in Oman, starting in 2016. So before tackling what you said, the high level baseline assessment, just a brief about the project itself, so people can understand where we come from. Any desalination plants in the Middle East are very highly anticipated projects, and especially in Oman. In Oman, back in 2016 and before, there was shortage of water. Sometime during the summer, people could not get water from the tap. So obviously that's a big issue. This project was highly scrutinized by the government at a very high level, and it is delivering 30% of the need in water of Muscat, which is the capital city of the Sultanate of Oman. So that tells you how important this project was. And because it was highly anticipated, one of the aspects which was important is that the deadline were quite narrow, and it was a beautiful project. I mean, it's very intense.
Were the deadlines strict as well, Pierre-Jean? In other words, were there penalties if you hit the deadline?
Yeah. I will not give the amount, but that was quite significant enough to being able to change drastically the way they were perceiving HSE. So now let's come down to the baseline assessment, like what you were asking me first.
How many people? You were saying three main contractors.
Yeah.
And 3,000 people or 1,000? Yeah. I can't remember.
So, yeah, when I arrived, so when you build this kind of plant, you have the civil works, then you go to the mechanical, then the electrical, and then the commissioning, and then later on the operation. When I arrived, it was the project started for already for 6-7 months, and it was the civil contractor. So we had 3 contractors. The way my company worked, we were awarded the project, and most of the work is being subcontracted. Some very technical work, we do it in-house, but most of the work is being subcontracted. So we had those 3 main contractors, a bit less of 1,000 people. So you have to imagine the footprint of the site where we had those 1,000 people was, let's say, 400 meters by 300 meters. So it's not in terms of print area, it's a footprint, it's not big, but we had a lot of people in it. And especially at the beginning, it's only on 1 level. So you can imagine how many people were there. And the first thing I've done there was to stay obviously on site and to see how was it. And yeah, it was not that great. A lot of improvement was needed. You talk about the reporting. Yeah, there was a reporting, but let's say for the first 6 months, which was like nearly a bit less than 1 million man hours, we have less than 6 near misses. We had the same amount of first aid, but just by stepping on the site, you could understand that this is not the reality. There is way more near misses. It was common at the beginning to see people walking under the suspended load, to see people going at height without any means to prevent any fall, people driving fast on site. These were common sight on this site, if I may say. Then
personal protective equipment, was the use of personal protective equipment or non-use of it fairly visible as well too, in terms of
it was very visible. It was but again, I was paying more attention to the larger hazard, the big risk on site, which was excavation, the work at height, and lifting. When we talk about this poor reporting, we also talk about the way the few reports were being handled. So first of all, most of the reports were, I would say, forced by us. We were forcing the contractor to report and to investigate, and 99% of the investigation, they had the same conclusion and the same action plan. You give a warning and you give a toolbox talk. That was it. That was always the same thing.
Well, Pierre-Jean, I remember being told by a director of intermodal at the railroad. So this is a man who's in charge of $1 billion a year in revenue, around $1 billion in assets. And he said that it was really simple, Larry, because we had so many rules. You just read down the list to what rule the guy broke. You read across here for the disciplinary action, and then boom, it was done. And I said, well, Sheldon, I said, how will that prevent the next one? And he said, oh, we gave up on preventing the next one. We just decided to slim down the investigation process. I was just, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's changed a lot since, but you know, he was they had 724 rules, right? Which, I mean, the thing that I probably should have set up a bit better at the beginning, everybody, is that we all know that blame and a culture of blame is bad. But if you turn it around to the other side of the coin and you say, do you think accountability for safety is good? Especially with senior managers, almost everybody says it's critically, it's not just good, it's critically important. Now, as you start trying to hold senior managers accountable, obviously they are not the ones getting hurt. They're not the ones causing the incidents. So they are naturally going to not necessarily be trying to deflect the blame or the responsibility, but obviously to push the control down to where it needs to be. Obviously, some other people need to be held accountable too. And the difference between feeling like you're being blamed versus somebody else thinking you're being held properly accountable, well, that's where it all starts, right? So, sorry, I should have maybe, Pierre, I just wanted to get into talking. I said the whole thing is I always find it just so interesting talking to you. So now tell me, when you got to this place and it was pretty broken, if you were going to give us sort of, what were the things that kind of made you think this may very well be the worst place I've ever been at? How much did the supervisors have? How much did the leadership, if you could give us sort of the layers a bit, where were the employees, these contractors coming from? Because in the Middle East, quite often it's really from all over the, so give us the lay of the land now at ground level.
Yeah. That was it took a while actually to modify this situation. But basically, you had people that come from all across Asia and also Eastern Africa. You have workers who speak French on site. You have Urdu, Tamil, Hindi, all those languages. And we had issue with the supervision because the supervision was not skilled and sometimes not able to speak the language of the worker they were supervising. And talking about supervision, there was also which was for me a big mistake. The HSE was being the person accountable on site for the HSE. Pure and simple. The HSE, if we want to have a good safety culture, if we want to follow the rules, that's the duty of the HSE officer. And most of the time in the incident report, there was a warning given to the HSE because, where was the HSE supervision? Yeah. No.
I haven't heard that since, I don't really want to date myself, but 25 plus years in North America where thankfully, I've never actually been at a place where the HSE person was being, I'd heard of it as I was getting into it, but this was 2016. Holy smokes. Okay, so what else? So the supervision can't talk to the employees. The HSE people are being held accountable instead of being advisors. What about the leader? Well, I'm scared to ask almost about the leadership group, but go for it.
So I will now probably talk about the positive side of it. It's there is a bright side. Is that the management, which were the same person who they sniffed that something was odd, that something was wrong. That was not possible to have so few near misses. And something that we have to take into account is that, as I said, the deadline were so strict and so narrow, so difficult to achieve that we knew that at a certain point, we would not have the luxury to segregate the different trade, and we will have the civil working alongside the mechanical and the electrical and the commissioning team. And that's what happened. So The good thing is that the very top management, they knew that something has to be changed immediately, or we are going to run into the wall.
Right.
It's going to be hell on earth. So that was the mindset of the project director directly.
Is that why he or she brought you in?
That's this reason. Yes.
Okay. So that all starts like, so somebody up there, like you said, there is a positive because somebody up there recognized this was a train wreck, about to happen, and so they called you in. But that's that's quite something when they put you at the front of the train that's going to be in the wreck, though. What? Well, sorry, Pierre. Tell us a bit more about it if you want, but I kind of want to know. Well, that's a pretty big elephant. So what? You can't tackle it all at once. What did you decide to sort of go after first initiative, or?
So one thing I did not mention, it's that in Oman, unlike other countries in the world, the law with regard to HSE is not matured. It's pretty basic. Even when you compare the neighboring country like UAE, where I'm at the moment, they have a strong standard that even it's a local standard, it's recognized as international standard now. In Oman, you don't have that. So the thing that you rely on is the contract. However, our contract was also fit for countries with a strong, I would say, legislative element. So when you arrive in Oman with such contract, well, what you have on site, it's a free-for-all of procedures, and that's what happened. And that's why also that's an important aspect to mention. So the first thing I've done, it's a baseline assessment, like I said, and the first thing to be done was to put the house in order. Because like you said, you guessed it well, we had a management system, but it was broken. The 3 contractors were following their own standard. Luckily, we had one that was following somehow an advanced standard, but the other were local contractors. So it was local standard, which was like really subpar. So
Pierre-Jean, when you say standard for the health and safety management system, what do you like in terms of the fall arrest harnesses at 10 meters? I mean, I just want you to clarify if you could. What about the standards were substandard? Okay,
let me give you an example. Lifting, because that's the one that created the most fuzz. Because we had to change the procedure. When I arrived, it was normal to have any kind of crane, including a tower crane or a crawler crane, that lifts a load, any load, being a container of 15 ton or just a 1 ton bundle of rebar, with only the operator, a train rigger. So you had like potentially 2 competent people for this job, which, I mean, every HSE professional will tell you when you do lifting, especially when you do complicated lifting, long reach, you need to plan it properly, especially, as I say, on a very small site where you will have a lot of coordination with others. So it was fine to have only 2 competent persons, while you look at the standard, you look at the best practices, you have at least planning engineer who will do will plan the lift. You have it's not 1, but you have 3 rigger, 1 is banksman, and that's at least, this is the minimum standard in a region. So on my side, this is where we were at the beginning. And I can tell you, Larry, it was
that makes perfect sense to me now. Okay, I when you were saying, because I was thinking, well, there are some standards that anybody, like, there's no point in wearing a fall arrest harness. You need to be wearing it at least 3 meters for sure, right? I mean, well, our standard is 5 meters. Well, that's going to amount to a lot of dead people. But in terms of the lifting and the cranes, now I sort of see it. Would there be any other kind of standard things that would also be very questionable as well around electricity or other things like that, or was that not so bad?
We had, I remember, out of the 6 near misses, one was directly involving the lack of isolation and for the lockout tagout. Yeah, it was, and that was. We won't have time to talk about it. It's more technical, but it was a huge work to implement a safe lockout tagout, because again, we are doing civil works. We just put temporary panel boards. Yes, it's 400 volts, it will kill, but we are going to place equipment and we are going to put 11 kV line that will be energized. So it's even more, I mean, the risk is it's another level. So yeah, it was bad at the beginning. So we were running to a disaster, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So and again, how? I mean, I can take a guess, but how on a scale of say 1 to 10, how negative would you say the culture? You know, if 0 is really super negative and 10 is super positive, you know, sunshine and smiles everywhere, where would you put this, the culture of this place when you got there?
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to say. As I said, there were 3 contractors. So one of them was definitely at a 1 when I arrived. Probably the other one just below 5. After that's my interpretation, but I can tell you it was bad. It was bad enough to change completely the way they were addressing HSE. But definitely below 5.
Wow.
Yeah. We were running toward a disaster.
I mean, I was telling you this before. I mean, I've been to some pretty sketchy places. I mean, especially in the early days when I was, you know, teaching people how to make safety observations. I remember a pipe coating plant in Harvey, Louisiana, and they said, just so you know, Larry, 30% of the workforce is on parole from a federal penitentiary. So, you know, if you can, find out what he was in for before you go up and talk to him. And I remember, you know, thinking of watching this one guy, and he's standing inside a rail car, 36-inch diameter, 1-inch thick steel pipes, about 40 feet long. And he is standing right in the bight between the pipe that the crane operator is loading in and the edge of the rail car. And I thought, if the crane operator makes one mistake, it'll be like a cookie cutter with this guy, because the pipe's so heavy. And as I was walking up to go talk to him, the supervisor said, "Hey, you know, he's only been out for a few weeks, and it was 17 years. So, you know, go lightly." And the guy was, I was scared to death, quite frankly. But the guy, you know, and the guy could see the risk. And I said, "Hey, if he makes one mistake, what's going to happen to you?" And he climbed right out of that rail car. But that's, you know, I mean, I've been to a few. I've never been anywhere though where no safety records. Sounds pretty like. I think you might have the prize here, Pierre-Jean, is what I'm getting at. But as you said, it's not. You know, you might not think of it as a prize or as an opportunity. When you get there, you might be looking at problem. You know, so first thing was to just try to get some basic HSE rules, standards, some consistency in place. What you do? What next? What happened next?
Yeah, but actually, to get the consistency across the board, that was a key element. We don't build a house without good foundation, and that was the foundation, the HSE management system. And quickly, what we did is that I could have taken off the shelf some procedure, sign it, applied it. That could have been done. It would have solved my problem very quickly. But on the long run, it would have been a disaster. So what we've done, we took a bit of time and we get those procedures out of the shelf and we discuss it. And it was really a participative approach. Not only the civil contractor and the head of the civil department in the main contractor in my company, but we also took the opportunity to get the mechanical as well as the electrical and the commissioning to come over and to discuss and brainstorm those procedures. As I said, the safety standard regarding the lifting. If for each lifting you just need one rigger, and now we are asking 3 rigger. Obviously, it has the budget is different. So there was a lot of discussion, it took a lot of listening on both sides to agree on a standard. And I called it this phase. We had to put the house in order, really. So that really set the pace for what was coming.
And
because
how long did it take you between that first part there of, you know, the foundation, setting the house in order? 6 months, 9 months?
So it was a continuous process, but most of the work was done. I arrived in September 2016. By January, I mean, the big procedures, the core management system was already set, and we were already running it. But on the same time, we, like what you mentioned, we established also a fair culture program, which is based on three pillars. So the first one is consistent reporting. The second one is the reward. We have to reward the positive things, and the third and last one is the penalty scheme. How do we penalize people? And those three pillars are interconnected. One doesn't go with the one goes with the others. Let me explain. When we did this fair culture program, we again participative approach. Everybody was entitled to give their opinion. Obviously, there was some consensus made, but we achieved an agreed procedures. And the first pillar that we set, that we run, and that was successful is the reporting. How do we report it? What do we report? But most importantly, Larry, is that reporting must be positive. Yes, we report things that are not necessarily positive, but it should be seen as positive. And I remember one anecdote that was in January or February. I don't recall the date exactly. Every month we have those meetings with our clients, and because of this fair culture program, we had a very, the number of near misses double or triple. I think I said at the beginning six near miss or 10 near miss over the first phase, the first 10 months of the project. The 16 months that followed, 300 near miss, 300 investigated, reported, investigated, action taken, and followed up. And that, for some people out there, that may seem very little, but in this industry, in the water industry, water and power industry, I've never heard this, especially in the Middle East, this level of reporting.
Well, to go from 6 to 8 to 300 and change is huge. But it's the thing that I guess impressed me, and was what impressed them too, Pierre-Jean, was that you investigated them. So did you prioritize it in terms of SIF potential versus, not necessarily having having serious potential, and sort of, get everybody to kind of get their head around all of that as well too, right?
No, it's a good question.
We need 6 people to investigate a paper cut, but we do want to be, looking at falls on concrete and things like that pretty seriously, right?
We were taking into account the actual severity and the potential severity, and like you mentioned, obviously, a small bruise, maybe it would have led to a fatality. So we will spend a lot of attention, but maybe a cut, two stitches cut on the end will not be investigated as thoroughly because, well, the condition would not have led to any fatality. So we were not spending the same amount of time and energy on those 300 near misses. It goes without saying. But let me just tell you about the anecdote that I have when we start reporting a lot. In those monthly meetings with the client, we started reporting this hike of near misses, and the first thing he said was, "Well, guys, what's happening on your site? It's getting worse. What are you doing?" And I kept quiet, and my project director immediately answered by telling him that we value the near misses, we value the reporting, and this is not a lagging indicator, but a leading indicator. And yeah, but if you have more, it means that a lot of things bad are happening. And my project director said, well, yes, but at least we are aware of it and we are working on it, because this is the principle number one of any system. You need to gradually improve. So this goes in this same sense. So that's one of the moments where I understand that whatever we were doing, the participation, collaboration, everything, it start to gain momentum, because the higher management were taking the words from my mouth and using it in front of the client. So that's it. Literally, you got the buy-in from your management. So that was the first pillar, reporting. The second one was the reward, and the reward was okay. It's pretty straightforward. We agree on a system that will be systematic, fair, trying to avoid a backdoor channel where the people they are used to this system, so they know exactly how to trick it and how to get the reward. So that was we managed to put in place something funny for the people. We reuse the star system that is also used in a lot of. We had a lot of cricket fans, so we use also the analogy with cricket. That was nice. And then came the third pillar, which for me was, if I have to choose. Yeah.
What? Well, the reward part. What did you reward? And if you can, I mean, I know it might not work for everybody where they, in Europe or North American perhaps, but what were you rewarding and how did you do it? You said you wanted to make sure it was fair so that people didn't learn how to trick the system. So I think that's all good, but the actual, like, what did you find were the best things to reward as you were turning this place around? Because I think sometimes when people ask me for advice, I'm like, well, you obviously want to be trying to reward all of the proactive things that people are doing. So if they're reporting a hazard, they're reporting a near miss, certainly, at least say thank you, if nothing else. Recognize that quite often when they report a hazard, the reward they're looking for is that the hazard gets fixed, that you fix the burnt out light bulb, not that they get a scratch and win card, right? So I think it's always important that the actual substance of the activity isn't overpowered by the reward or made to that the safety issue becomes less important than the reporting and getting the reporting numbers there, because I think sometimes people lose a bit of that. So what specifically did you reward or reinforce?
So the key when you reward, that has always been my philosophy ever since, is that you need to make it evolve, and you need to reward different things at different moments. What we were doing is we were obviously rewarding, like you said, the reporting. We were rewarding also the participation of the people, because we had a lot of campaign, and one of which was the campaign to report near misses, or campaign for the best safety pictures. And those things doesn't sound like it's pure HSE, but when you get the participation of the people into something that is more than just signing a risk assessment or attending a toolbox talk meeting, then you have them making something that they like taking picture with friends, but you tailor it to a HSE point of view, and that's also the things we have to do as HSE professional. We have to show the people that HSE can be fun, and it's not only risk assessment, reward, penalty, toolbox meeting. It can be also fun on site, and especially when you work in with people who are thousands of miles away from their home, from their family. You need also to give them a bit of the way to express themselves and to do something else than just working and going home and talking to their family, giving them some things to cheer about. So we were rewarding that, and we were also rewarding when it's not easy. We have sometimes to put the ego on the side, but sometimes we were rewarding also the people who made a lot of improvement. Maybe they were not the best, but they were also improving in their, like a supervisor who was having a lot of violation in his team. He stopped having violation, so we were also rewarding that. So it was also a way to show the people that we are fair. We have to, as management, and it's not only a Chelsea team, it was also the head of department who was awarding the people.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to award this person because he's doing something great. Change.
Just real quick, how did you decide who this? I have never heard this before, even though you and I've talked for hours already. like last night, well, for to have a prize for the best near miss, for the best picture for a hazard ID.
Yeah,
I've never heard. I mean, it's almost always been the number of them, but like the idea of having the best one to reinforce the quality. I mean, maybe everybody else has heard it but me, but I've been around for a while. So I wanted to just sort of stop to punctuate that, because as I made a note, I went, that's brilliant, really. The best, have a now how do you decide who's the best? That's the next question. Was it a vote? Is it you have a committee? Did you decide to be the supreme judge and ruler, or?
No, we had a committee. I was not even part of it, because I was the one who tried to emulate, to try to motivate the people to participate. So I felt it was not appropriate for me to be part of the committee. So, and it's very funny, because the team who won that award, it's in Oman. It's a very good company, that's very servicing company working in oil and gas. And now you can find on their website, they even use this picture on their website. Wow. Because the contest was to show unity and to show the how to work safely. And they had a very nice picture with a group of guys. Obviously, it was not the pandemic, so we could be close together, and they just shaking their hands in such a way. It was really nice. So they won the prize, and now they are using this as in their website. So it's that tells you how this fair culture impacts not only the workers but also the management, because that was a real success. This reward system, we changed it a lot to make sure that we reward a lot of person on the spectrum.
Okay, now I've certainly heard that before from people that the more the merrier, I guess. But trying to get lots of prizes out to people versus say one big prize or something like that, right? Because that, obviously, you don't have to worry so much about people thinking anything is unfair if it isn't too big and almost everybody's getting one, right? Certainly, when we're telling people, like to take the videos home to your family, unless you can go home and tell your kids to be careful another 1,000 times if you want, or you can go home and teach them how to be careful. But we say, there's coloring activity books to support the videos. Have a contest, but just the contest is every kid gets a prize, and then it's like a raffle draw for everybody that participated, and maybe that boy or girl will win a bike or a tricycle or a bike helmet or something like that, right? But not a judge contest in terms of who's best or who isn't. But with what you're doing in terms of the best near miss or the best hazard ID photo, you've got to have a judging component for that to get the quality, right? So you had a committee for that. Yeah. Approximately, can you give us any idea what sort of budget you had for that? Like how?
That's a very interesting question. We had no budget.
That's what I thought when you said.
We had zero budget. We had zero budget.
So
but, Yeah.
You're
When you
water,
reward someone,
water out of the ocean and rewards with no budget. Okay, so
I mean, you know, when you reward people, it's not necessarily the monetary incentive that will work. It can work for a while. I've tried it. I tried a monetary incentive, and it worked for a while, really for a while. But when you start, what we touch base here is consultation, participation of the manpower. Easier said than done. Most of the people, they have their committee, the Dropbox where people put IDs and stuff. Yeah, this is fine in some places. Well, in the Middle East, it's not fine. That doesn't work. I've tried it many times. Very difficult to implement. But when you start to have those activities, those when you start to treat the people fairly, to ask them how they perceive it, it's a game changer. Because the hardest part is to get the buy-in from the management, the executive, the subcontractors, who probably agree differently when they sign a contract. But once they get the buy-in, then after rolling this out to the people, they usually, I mean, I've worked, I think, in 10 different projects in this part of the world. Okay, that doesn't sound a lot, but
well, so not more not.
I mean, yeah, but nobody was having the consultation and participation right the way we did here. The success of this fair culture, Larry, it's not into the so many million man-hours without LTI or recordable, because as we already discussed, the definition is different from a country to another, and it won't be fair just to focus on that. But the real success on this project, having this fair culture implemented, is that safety first slogan, banner, posters were taken down very quickly, for the very good reason that nobody believed in a safety first. Why? Because safety became integrated, because people were involved into the HSE management system right at the start, at the planning stage. Then they knew that it has to be integrated. This is the way it should be, and this is the way it ended up. And this project was very successful. And I mean,
Well, when
I never heard.
I wanted a little more clarification on the reinforcement pillar, but you were just about to start in on the third pillar, which was also fairly like that. So talk about that, and then I want to make sure, Pierre-Jean, you've got time to talk about the innovation, like the innovation, right? You know, and how you got really got the. So I don't want to, just tell us about the third party, and then I'll get you.
Yeah. So I skip it because I'm passionate. I love what I do. I love what I did. So the third pillar, which I said it was important. It's the penalty system. When you have a reward, you need to have a penalty. You need to balance it. Not like you should have equal, but you should take them into account. So as I said at the beginning, there was a blame culture. The people who get injured is going to get a penalty, a warning. The people who are involved will get a warning, and that's the end. So what we did, and that was a game changer, not only for HSE but for all the departments, is that we have to assess for any situation, any unsafe behavior observed. Is it an error or is it intentional? And it was a game changer for a lot of people, because, as I said, the person injured is the one to be blamed. So when we were going into the investigation process, now we were going more deeper into it. Is it rule-based? Is it knowledge-based? Is it, if it's a intentional violation, is it because the procedure is not adapted? Is it because the system is not there to take this into account, or is it just a deliberate violation? And if it's the case, then at which level, and what will be the gravity of the sanction?
And how many times too is always important.
Exactly. So we had like a matrix, because to be fair, we have also to use the same criteria. And I've been on project where the warnings are only given to the workers. On this project, we also gave final warning to managers. And that's not a simple thing. When you are a company and you give a warning to your peer, the guy working next to you, but well, everything is clear and a violation was given. So obviously it's not the best part of the HSE or the managerial work, but it has to be done and fairly.
Well, yeah. Yes, and that's, I mean, I wanted to make sure you could cover, because I don't think any of us are really all that comfortable in a world without accountability for safety. Okay, there are deliberate violations, and they do occur on a repeated basis with some individuals. So the idea that it's all benign out there is idealistic. But I think the effort that goes on to try to make the negative part fair is futile if you aren't willing to make way more effort on the positive end. It'll, like what I tell people is, it doesn't matter how fair it is, it's still a negative. And if all I ever hear is negative, eventually our culture will be negative. There's no reason for it to be positive. We're not creating or doing anything positive. So eventually the drip, drip, drip of negativity, it's not every day, but eventually it erodes. You end up with this negative culture, and it can also, go really bad in terms of, if it starts to become a we versus they and all the rest of it like that. So now you've got the people at least believing you're fair when it comes to holding, bottom line accountability.
Yeah.
How long did all of that take before you started what I would call the knock the ball out of the park initiative?
Yeah, so I arrived in September 2016. January 2017, we had already the first pillar up and running. Obviously, it got better with the time, like a good wine, and it was already operational in January. Then it was I have in March. That's where we started to roll out those two pillars and to have the first. Obviously, we were not showcasing the penalty, but we were showcasing the reward. So that happened a bit later, because when you are in March, it starts to get hot. We wanted to do something very nice, so we ended up after the summer, and again, that was a nice setting. Again, zero budget, but once you when you involve the people in the thought process. The subcontractors, then they are keen to give some money on the table to make something great. So that was really the key, Larry. Consultation, participation at all levels, which make this project a real success. The fair culture was, I would say, the main program that triggered a lot of positive stuff. And there was a lot of things on the side that we set up that also encourage this participation and improve our system. So as I said, sorry.
Sorry, I want to hear about the next thing you did. But the first, so you got your hands around the problem, you got the negativity controlled, and you got a sense of balance and fairness built into the system. Okay, now that's, if you will, you stop the bleeding, if you will. That's not the right way to put it, but there's a far cry from stopping the problems to being able to create a positive culture. So that's basically what I was hoping you could I know you've told me before how you did it, but just tell everybody else, Pierre-Jean. I mean, how you know, once you got your kind of, you know, under control, the next step I found to be just as interesting.
You are you talking about the innovation award, or
well, you won the. I mean, I should have mentioned everybody. Pierre won an HSE award for safety professional, and but he also won an innovation award as for HSE too, and in Oman and in the Middle East. And the innovation, yes, it's the innovation that I want you to sort of talk about, even though it's like everybody, it's not like you haven't heard of this, but I've never heard it working quite so well. So go ahead.
Yeah, so actually this innovation was before Oman, and it was in Qatar. Qatar it's a new city that they are building from scratch, 500,000 inhabitants, a huge infrastructure project. So we were one of the contractors. Once again, I arrived in the middle of the project. Difficult project. We have a lot of delays for some reason. The project manager, it's already the sixth project manager. Complicated project. When I arrived, there was a lot of LTIs. First week on a job, we got another big accident. So that was tough. So we did what we had to do, like we restructured the organization, and after 6 months, because I arrived on the same time as a new project director, so there was a new guidelines. We eradicate, I would say, the bleeding. We stopped having LTI and major recordable, but we were still having recordable. Although we improved a lot, we were still having recordable. So I really scratched my head, like, what can we do next? I mean, we have the reward, we have the incentive. What can we do? We have the procedures. We have the best welfare facilities. We have the best training. What can we do? So, honestly speaking, all this thought process came after I read a couple of books, namely the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the books from Richard Branson, probably the Virgin Way. And that got me thinking, like, yeah, let's try to have fun on site. Let's try to make things differently. Let's try to have safety different, because that was in 2013. I was 2 years on the job. My colleagues, my HSE officer, it was already their 7th years on the site. So they were kind of like bored, and yeah, we've seen that already, and yeah, okay, we will change the training, but it's the same. So we went on to make the use of tablet for 2 reasons. The first one was to save time, to be always on site, to have the HSE personnel 100% on site. They want an information, a risk assessment, a permit, everything is on the tablet. Then the second thing, we noticed that our trainings were not efficient, and that was the feedback coming from the HSE personnel, but as well as the operation. I mean, the construction managers and supervisors, they were also complaining that we spend so much time in training for very little benefit. So what we did is that we start to do speechless video. And more than the results, I mean, the video themselves, it's just the way we did that. We use tablets, free software, to edit the video. I was editing the video, and we were doing the video on site. The people, the workers themselves, were doing were acting. We were filming them, and there we had 45 nationalities. I remember 45, because I had to one day to buy all the flag. I remember we had 1 flag for 1 person. That was the Canadian flag. So a lot of nationalities. So those speechless video clips, the aim was to communicate the procedures in a very simple way, and without needing any explanation, because that was straightforward. And what we ended up having is people were so motivated. Most of the people there, we were predominantly from India, Nepal, yeah, a bit of Bangladesh, but mostly India and then Nepal. As you know, Bollywood is the biggest film industry in the world. Okay, it's greater than Hollywood. So that tells you how passionate these guys can be with acting, and they loved it. They loved it. They loved it for the fact that it was fun, that we were having really a good time making those videos, and then those videos, they were sharing it with their family, with their friends. When we were introducing those videos to their peers, they recognize their friends, they recognize their roommates. So the effect on site was incredible. We eradicated the recordable injury because we are not having LTI anymore. And that was a huge success. Again, more than the end product, just the way we did that. Again, I didn't name it that way at that time, but we were touching again participation, collaboration of people, and yeah, it was a great success. We had like 200 video clips from 30 seconds to 5 minutes, and this is something easily applicable to any industries. And I remember oil and gas companies in Oman were starting to look at that. The company I was working for, which is the largest construction company in Europe, they are still using what we've done. They're still using the video. They're developing the tablet. So that was a huge success and a win-win for everyone.
Well, when I was talking, I said, maybe it isn't the tablet per se got you the engagement. It made it fun. It doesn't that the tablet and the videos may not be the exact thing that works for everybody. It works super well for you.
Yeah.
But the objective, which is the engagement and to make it fun and to get their families involved. I mean, that I think is really key versus sort of a scare tactic, doom and gloom. Don't let this, I mean, that place at Harvey, Louisiana that I went to, this is a long time ago, early 90s, but I mean, in the safety meeting, he actually got all 300 of them into the warehouse, and he sat up on the desk and he banged on his wooden leg and he said, "Don't let this happen to you." And I'm watching it going, I don't believe this. I'm like, this is happening at this day, like really still, but I was there. It was. So, it doesn't have to be a video, but what you've got to do is change the thrust from doom and gloom and fear, which is a waste of time, a total waste of time. You can't scare grown men or grown women into being scared for very long. If you could, it would have already worked by now. It's not like it wasn't done. It was done for 50, 60 years, for heaven's sakes. So make it fun. The video thing, though, I think is really key here, because if I was to ask you the next question, which is, so where do you think it's kind of going in the future? My guess would be not so much the tablet, but the phone, right? Like the videos with the phone and the being able to see the things on the phone and the being able to share some of the stuff with your family like that. You don't even necessarily need the tablet anymore. But where are you kind of going now with it all, or where would? Yeah,
I think the most of the project construction industry for what I've seen of not only one company but also my competitors. I think we are already very late, and the technology, the tablet. I mean, for how many years we have tablets? For how many years there is already smartphone on the market, and yet you don't see that much those easy stuff that will ease the work of all the HSE professional being applied. The reason I believe it's probably cost, because it costs money to develop such things. But I think that's exactly where it's going to, where we are going at. It's more connected connected personal protective equipment, the use of hologram or the smartphone to get the training or all the informations. However, there is something that we should not forget. It's human relation, because until we have robots who will do everything, we still have someone operating a machine or pressing a button. And we should not forget that there is a human relation and human factor that we need to take into account. And I wish to see more of that being, being taught to our children at school. This easy method to avoid having accidents. Being conscious about what we are doing instead of being in another world and not paying attention of what we are doing, not having our eyes on task, and having accidents. I think it's fine. We will go more toward those connected objects, toward the use of smartphone, digital devices. But we should not forget the human. We are human, and we are not robot, and we need to nurture this relation, the way we interact with each other. Like I just said, you don't do anything if you don't have participation and consultation, especially in HSE.
No, Pierre-Jean, I think that was a brilliant concluding remark. Thank you very much. Because with all the technology and all it does for us, if you lose that human relationship, that human touch, you probably lost it all. Really, I just want to quickly sort of scan the thing here and see if there are any burning questions that we're supposed to answer, because we are, as usual, I am great observation regarding senior management not understanding the value of near-miss reporting. How did you get them to understand that more near-miss reporting is a good thing? Well, you kind of answered that already, but go just sort of reinforce it a bit, Pierre-Jean, if you could.
Yeah, well, that's $100 billion US dollar question. I don't know if I can give my secret. No, the thing is that what I did and what worked for me is that you have to explain the difference between a leading and a lagging indicator, and you have to clearly show them that a near miss, there is nothing wrong with a near miss, nothing happened. However, in other circumstances, it could have led to a loss of life or loss of production or anything like that. So usually any managers will understand that clearly, especially when you show him example of what happened in the past and how it could have been prevented at a lower cost. So usually what I do is that I use you use gloomy pictures, or you take a very hardcore accident and you show him, that's what happened when people are not trained on working at height. This is what happened when you don't want to spend $50 for certifying your lifting equipment or your lifting gears. So usually the use of examples, especially the example that you faced, because you will tell it in a passionate way, because you lived it, because you've seen it happening sometime with your own eyes. So you will say it in a very influential manner. So that's the way I always tackle this point when it needed. Yeah.
For what it's worth, so I'm not sure who asked the question, but I found sometimes that if I went and got the manager and I took him down to where they were storing the oxidizers and the flammable cylinders in the same room where the roof was leaking, it wasn't until I took him down there and showed him, and it was fixed the next day, but it had been that way for 10 years. And the people showed it to me. And I said, you've got to be kidding. I mean, this could blow this whole building off the block. And they said, yeah, but, obviously that's never happened. And I'm like, well, it's only going to happen once. because all the people involved will be dead, and then the new people likely won't do that again. But as soon as I find sometimes if you show them, like tell them the NIMRIS report, take them right out and sort of show them, and they can put it to, like, sometimes you just need to get their feet in the area where it is. That really helps make it, the reports, the photographs, sometimes they need to go see it themselves with their own eyes. That's helped me a lot. Any other questions, Mike? Because we are at the limit for the hour. And have you looked to moving to observations, good or bad, so we can share the good and fix the bad? That's actually, did you use the observations, Pierre-Jean, did you actually get into a sort of an observation process there at either of these places?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's yeah. Especially in Qatar, we were doing that a lot before having the tablet, showing visually what is not acceptable from what is acceptable, and always, especially when you are in a multicultural, multilingual, I would say, atmosphere or project, you need those things. Like what you said. Putting the people on site is the same. Putting the picture of exactly what happened and what should be done without any words. That's usually the most effective message, because once you put word in your messages, explanations, then it become very difficult or tricky to understand.
Right. There was another excellent. There was another question about any other innovations to improve the safety culture. We talked at least a bit the other day just about the family, and and being able to involve the family if you can, one way or another. Certainly, for me this was huge, right? Because I could say, hey, how, like, especially the rougher the place was, I could look at these men and say, how many of you, just like me, worry that your son is going to turn out to be just like you? And when you put it to them like that, all of these tough guys go, "Ooh, God, that wouldn't be good." And so what are you going to do? Tell them to be more careful next time? Tell them to pay more attention next time? Tell them never to do it again? I mean, you heard all that. What did it do for you? So by being able to give them something that they could take home to their kids that was a little more effective than try to be more careful next time, I found all of those things to be huge leverage points in terms of turning a culture around. Like, don't make it about the workplace. Make it 24/7. Whatever you do, make sure you include driving, because that's where there's the most risk. And if you want to talk about the family, don't talk about you going home safe to your family. Talk about you going home safe to your family and your family being safe, because they're more worried about their kids getting hurt and their teenagers getting killed driving than they are about themselves. So it's not that the family isn't important. It's just they've been playing the card face down instead of face up. You've got the motivation wrong. But did you find that as well, that the family and the 24/7 was also key to the positive culture?
That's to answer your question, and also the question we had from Raya. We've done something like that, Larry. It was in Qatar. It was actually for a celebration. I don't know how many million man-hours without LTI. Obviously, we have to find a reason to celebrate, so we use that one. And we made a play we had a play, and the play was, you had a family in India sending their son with their friend to Qatar to work, and at the end of the play, only the friend came back, not the son. I have goosebumps when I talk about this, because these are real life examples, and you cannot imagine people who are, we are not expecting that, but it touched the heart of everyone.
Wow.
Everyone. I was having at least goosebumps if they were not crying, because they knew someone, or they could relate to that because they were thinking, oh yeah, I can be well in that box too if I don't follow. So I completely agree with you. When you can link it to the family, to what really matters, because especially here in this country, myself, I'm here to make a living, to earn money. So this is a great idea, and I think it has a huge potential. I've used it once, and what you mentioned, there is like other way to do it, but I think the only time I used it, it was really powerful.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Well, I mean, it's also from a neuroscience point of view, if the kids learn good safety related habits, like moving their eyes first before they move their hands, feet, body, or car, then even later on when they're in a rush or they're frustrated, they could learn how to self-trigger, yes, but that's not as good as if your baseline habits were safe in the first place, because that's what it'll take you to, right? So, the more we can do at the beginning, like you were saying to me the other day on the phone, the more you can do at the beginning, the better off they're going to be later on, right? Just like any sport or any musical instrument, the reason they start off trying to get you to do it right is because you will be in a rush, you will be frustrated, and you need to have good baseline habits, or you're going to miss a serve, or you're going to play a wrong note. And so it's interesting to me. In high performance sports like tennis, they tell you and everybody else in the world too how many unforced errors you made. But we're not allowed to talk about human error and worker error at the workplace because for some reason, it's viewed as blaming the dumb worker, which I think is even more hypocritical because the person who's doing the blaming probably makes 60 to 70 mistakes a day. And the person that they're talking about might make 65 to 75. But if you make 60 mistakes a day and the other guy beside you makes 65, I don't know about you. I don't think, well, this guy's got a real problem compared to me. I mean, seems to me he's got, that much more, and that's it, buddy boy. And, who knows which one of those mistakes is going to be serious. But I think when you start bringing the family into it and you start bringing driving into it, people relax a lot of that misalignment. I've got another word for it, but it's not politically correct. But nevertheless, they let go of the BS, right? They do. When you bring their family in and the other stuff, the politics and the other stuff also disappear. And that third leg you talked about, which is accountability, it's so key right there, right? You do need to have some of that, but you've got to balance it. So any final thoughts, Pierre-Jean? Because I know we're out of time, and I know lots of people have had to get on with their day or their evening. They only had an hour, but any concluding thoughts for the folks about, transforming that culture of blame?
Yeah, to always I've been told that when I was in Oman, and I stuck into my mind. As HSE professional, we should always chin up, and everything happens for a reason, and we should not back down. I would say it's a job for passionate people, I believe, more than other trade, because you face the adversity on site, you have your management on the other side, and you are compressed in between the two. So I believe that especially the HSE professional who have their accountability toward their subordinates, they must protect, they must nurture their this flame that those HSE professionals have at the beginning, because it's key. You don't build professional based on mercenaries. They should be passionate people. So that's my thought to conclude. It's really to make sure that we stay passionate, we stay motivated, chin up, and we never back down.
I think that is an incredibly powerful message at the end, and it's so true too. Really, I've had this. The way I had it said to me before about the people that are for the cause and the people that are mercenaries, it's just very, very interesting because the person who said this to me said, "See, Larry, you're for the cause. I can tell." I didn't need to ask him if he was a mercenary. It was written all over him, so I didn't think there was any need to go there. He was perfectly transparent about the fact that he was not for the cause, right? But I think if you're going to be in health and safety, it's going to be too challenging if you're not. So Pierre-Jean, thank you very much for this. It's also a brilliant segue into next week's episode, everybody. Anthony Panapinto from Procter & Gamble called me just a couple of days ago, and we were talking about that the case numbers have never been higher in Canada. They are on the rise. We've got all kinds of problems with COVID. It is not over. So we are going to have a special edition, April Fool's Day, Larry Wilson Live with Anthony Panapinto. It will be at 10 a.m. April the 1st, Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And if I've got it right, I think that's 6 p.m. in the UK, 7 p.m. in Europe, and 8:30 where you are, or 9 o'clock, Pierre-Jean? Probably.
You have to add, you will have to add 3 hours from London time.
3 hours from London. Yeah. So it will be at 9 o'clock p.m. in the Middle East. Thank you very much, everybody. And Pierre-Jean, thank you once again. It was great talking with you. Really enjoyed it. And
I enjoyed it too. Thank you, Larry.
Oh, no, you're welcome. And really some really excellent ideas too that I hope everybody can pick up on. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week. It's going to be an hour later, and talking with Anthony. It should be a really, really good show. There's a lot of things we all need to know to make sure our workplace doesn't get shut down for a couple of weeks before everybody gets a vaccine. So please tune in, and we'll see you then. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.